Good afternoon, everybody in the Move, Think, Smile group and the Fatigue-Free Professional. Adam and Eléa here coming at you live on this wonderful Friday afternoon. And we're coming in here, again, kind of on a little of impromptu. This wasn't a big schedule live, but, we've been talking to a lot of people this week. And it seems like, one of the things that a lot of people are dealing with is they're just simply coming home exhausted. There's a bit of a difference between when you're waking up in the morning tired, right? And you're fatigued, right? You're waking up more tired than when you went to go to bed. And there's some people who actually get up and they feel okay in the morning, but then they come home from work and they're just done. And so today is Friday, and there's a lot of people out there who really are just going to have, kind of a lackluster weekend because they're just too tired to really enjoy things. Yeah, sure, they're going to think they're going to sleep in tonight, maybe get up tomorrow morning or sleep in tomorrow morning, right? And then things are going to be going around and all their friends, there's all kinds of events. It's summertime, it's the beginning of the summer. The days are getting longer and they just don't have the energy to really get out there and do stuff, or they're so trapped in the catch-22 of work that they just can't escape from it. And so Ellie and I, what we're going to do is we want to go over with you 3 things that you can do right now to end your exhaustion, to eliminate your exhaustion. Right, Elia?
Yes, because just like you said, it's like, who wants to spend their weekend on the couch or avoiding social events or avoiding time with your family, not because you don't love them, but just because you're just too tired, right? You're just too tired to socialize.
So what we're going to do is I'm making sure that everybody can view this right now. And if, I think what we really need to hit on, what does exhaustion really mean? Right?
Yeah.
Elia, can you elaborate?
Yeah. So, with exhaustion, it's like, it's the first step to the worst of the worst with burnout, right? So we talk about both fatigue and exhaustion and burnout in this group, but with exhaustion, it's like, you just have no reserves in the tank. You're just constantly feel like you're like pushing a boulder up a hill, right? You're just like, it requires so much coffee, so much caffeine to really get you moving that it's just like, you just have nothing. And I was going to say, there's nothing worse than just wanting to do things, wanting to be active, wanting to get out there and do stuff and feeling like you're that person, but not having the energy to do it.
Right. So I think one of the important things to recognize here is, a lot of people, glorify coffee.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Don't get me wrong. Freaking Starbucks nailed it. Kick butt profit model, man. Good coffee for sure.
Yeah.
But the problem is that coffee has become like the substitute for wine. Coffee has become like the new liquor. Like there are high-end coffees. Like they're selling cups of coffee for $100. And this is not a show about coffee. This is a show about exhaustion. But what this is, so many people are drinking way more caffeine than they need to be. Does coffee have positive benefits on the body? Yes, in certain doses. But what happens is if you're drinking and you're relying on at least 8 ounces or more of coffee to get you up and moving during the day, or you're reaching for some type of caffeine or soda or sugary drink or something like that to eliminate the brain fog, either late morning brain fog or late day brain fog, and then you're coming home, this is one of the reasons why. So, step number 1, let's just get right into it, right?
Sure.
Step number 1 is to really recognize that there is a problem. And what this means is you've got to understand that if you're not rocking with energy without needing some type of supplement or without needing some type of caffeine or without needing some type of sugar, you have a problem. You have a fatigue problem. It may not be the chronic fatigue that a lot of people talk about, and it might not be the adrenal fatigue that some people talk about, or maybe it is. But if you're not awake and energized, and you're in your midlife, if you're in your 40s and 50s, and you don't feel like you can get out there and rock out, 5 miles of walking, or if you don't think you can get out there and just do things, right? And you're starting to settle for life and you're starting to accept that you're getting old, then that is a problem. Because I can tell you time and time again, life does not have to be that hard in the way that we've been treating ourselves, in the way that we philosophize about work, in the way that we idealize, the what do you want to call it? The exhausting grind of overwhelm, right? The work ethic that a lot of our professionals and the people that we work with do. You've got to recognize that there's a problem. Eléa.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably one of the most heartbreaking things about what we do is speaking to people on the phone and just hearing the apathy in their voice, hearing that they feel trapped. But then, and hearing them talk about how much fatigue is affecting their life in such a negative way. And in some ways, they still are not connected to or recognizing that this is really a problem. And
Huge.
the reason for that is they've gotten used to that, right? They know they don't like it, but they also kind of feel like, well, this is just the way things are. And
Right.
that's just so sad because, our time here is so short. It's so precious. And these people, when you're suffering from fatigue, like you are not really living into your purpose, into your talent. You're not bringing your best. And it's just, it's detrimental for everyone. It's detrimental for yourself and everybody around you.
Yeah. So what's really crazy is, and it still just blows my mind, how many people are living tired? How many people are dealing with fatigue? And how many people don't realize that being tired is the root cause of most of our chronic human health conditions? I mean, it starts simply with like anxiety and depression. If that isn't big enough, then it gets into the high blood pressure and the heart disease. Like it's your body's tired. That's what it is. You've got a problem. And what's crazy is the way people think they can fix it is like, well, I'll just catch up on my sleep on the weekend. Or I'll just take this sleeping pill, right? And what they don't realize is that sleeping supplements, especially sleeping pills, actually cause a form of what they call sleep-induced amnesia. And so even though you think you slept all night long, a lot of people who take sleeping pills will wake up really groggy the next day. And it's because they forgot that they were waking up all night and they were having restless sleep.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
and like you said, with fatigue kind of being that leading and root cause of a lot of issues, for a lot of the people I talk to, they're not sleeping well. And they can also notice that on the days they don't sleep well, that all their other symptoms that they might be struggling with, whether that's anxiety or depression or, brain fog or, weight gain or overeating, right? It's worse on the days that they're really exhausted. They want to eat more. They're battling their anxiety more. And it's a loop.
But that's every day.
Yeah.
It's not worse on the days that they are exhausted. The thing is, I literally just talked to somebody a couple of days ago and he was like, and I was like, well, how was it yesterday? He's like, well, yesterday was pretty good. I'm like, oh, okay. Tell me about it. How was yesterday? He's like, well, I got up in the morning. I probably slept I was in bed for 7, 8 hours, but I probably slept 4 or 5. I don't think that's pretty good. And then like, well, was it we get in? So it took me a long time to get out of bed because I was kind of tired. I'm like, well, shouldn't you be rested when you wake up in the morning? He's like, well, I guess I should be. I'm like, so then, what'd you do? I'm like, drink a bunch of coffee or things. I didn't drink any coffee. I'm like, oh, okay. He's like, no, but I had a couple cans of soda and I had like 4 or 5, sweet teas. And I'm like, all right. Okay. What about the day before that? Well, the day before that, I drank an entire 2-liter bottle by myself and I had like 6 to 8 teas. So the days that they are sugarcoating that, yeah, I had a good day today. I'm not as bad as Bob down the street. Bob can't get out of bed because he's so tired. Yeah, Bob didn't take care of the problem because he didn't recognize he had one.
Yeah.
So that's step number 1, guys. You've got to recognize that there is a problem. And until you do that and you take ownership of it to go and fix it, and I don't know if you saw the live we did 2 days ago on, how to turn your problems into opportunities. Once you recognize there's a problem, you've got to actually take ownership of that problem. And take ownership of it, get in, find out what the data is, fix the things that aren't working, right? And create a whole new identity. And you guys can go watch that. It was 2 days ago, right? It should be below this video.
And another thing, I just want to throw in here really quick is like, guys, you have to remember, like, if you don't take a stand for your energy and your health, no one else will. You have to be the person to say, I am no longer going to stand for this mediocre life that I'm living right now.
Yep.
Because everyone else will just kind of, again, if you're going around, well, I'm just tired, I'm just going to make it, I'm just going to do it or whatever, again, who's going to stand up for you? You have to recognize that there's a problem and decide you won't stand for it anymore, right? And that's when the second step really comes into play.
Yeah. So once you recognize there's a problem, what do you got to do next? Well, you've got to understand the consequences if you don't fix it. And we can go super deep here. And this part is super, super difficult because it's going to make you open up to the truth of what's really happening to you. And if you do not take this step and you run away from it, you avoid it, it will come and smack you down super fast. And we're watching so many people being forced into an early retirement. And I'm talking about in their 40s.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not talking about like Joe made it to 63 instead of 65. No, I'm talking about in their 40s. Right. And they're being forced. Even we've talked to people and we've had clients come in who had to quit their job in their 30s.
Yeah.
Because of fatigue and exhaustion, which leads to burnout syndrome. And guys, if you're new to burnout syndrome just means there's a bunch of stuff going on and it's a little different for everybody. And we've been talking about how the World Health Organization has now classified burnout syndrome as an occupational phenomenon. We've been working with it for 5 or 6 years now, and it's a crazy thing. So what happens is fatigue and exhaustion, right? They are the root causes of more than 100 chronic human health diseases. This has been documented over and over and over again. There's lots of modern health science on it. Even the conventional medical industry is realizing this. The doctors are realizing this. Even the non-conventional, the new age people are realizing this. And it's crazy. And it's the minute that you get tired is the minute that your food choices get distorted, right? Your sleep rhythms get knocked off, and it all goes down to pretty much one thing is triggering all this, and that is psychological stress.
Yeah.
And people aren't admitting it because they think they can just power through. And Eléa, you're an expert in this area. It's the whole, expanding on, people running around with the badge of honor of like, look how freaking stressed out and busy I am.
Yeah, I mean, it gives us this sense of purpose, right? We feel like we're getting something done. But again, guys, a lot of times that busyness it's just a mask. It's a mask for feeling out of control in other areas of your life. And so you just focus in on all this just, busyness and stuff that just, a lot of the stuff just really doesn't need to be done. And the big projects that you want to get done are not getting done, right? And Adam, as you were mentioning, I mean, physical illness is a big thing, but not only that, I mean, what it's costing people and businesses. So if you're a business owner and most of your employees are exhausted, that's costing you thousands of dollars to your bottom line because people are half engaged. They're not getting, their stuff done. Believe me, the people that I talk to on the phone, they're like, yeah, I might be getting like, I might be 50% productive during my day.
Every one of our clients that's come to us, right?
Yeah.
was on the verge of losing their job, being fired, on the verge of losing their business, or they had to step away. All because of fatigue, exhaustion, and burnout. And the consequences of this, they are in 3 different areas. One, let's just talk about your body, right? It has been proven that this can shorten your lifespan up to 33 years. 30, that's a third of your life. It can shorten your lifespan up to 33 years. And if you have this and you're not enjoying life right now, the rest of the second half of your life is just going to suck. It is. It's going to suck. I mean, not only is your lifespan probably going to be, let's say you make it to 90. Let's say you do make it to 90. Let's say you're on the other end of the bell curve and you're good and everything's fine. But you're dealing with fatigue, exhaustion, and burnout. It's going to suck. You're not going to be able to, let's say you wanted to travel to Europe. I mean, sure, you're going to go to travel Europe. And are you going to be stuck on one of those tour buses like cattle, just being toured around because you can't get out and walk around yourself or you just get tired too fast? if you want to go to Europe and like ski the Alps and now you can't because you're too tired. Sure, you can go out there and eat a bunch of charcuterie, but is that what you really want to do? Is that an adventure to you? Is just stuffing your face with cured meat? I mean, I like it too. Don't get me wrong, but that's when I go to Europe and when Ellie and I go to France, I mean, I want to do stuff, right? Yeah, tasting some of the local cuisine is badass too, but I want to do stuff. I want to have adventures. When I get in a car and I travel somewhere, my idea is just not to sit there and watch more Netflix, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think, what's interesting is we get so separated from the consequences, like we're talking about here. What are the consequences of not fixing this? And I think part of it too is that we have numbed out, right? We have numbed out, or like you said, we're sugarcoating. And I can say this 100% because that's exactly how I was, right? It's just like, it's not that bad. And just kind of this optimism that actually was serving me and staying stuck because I kept pretending like it wasn't that bad. And I can tell you that is the fast road to landing in the doctor's office, completely confused as to why you can't function anymore.
No. Oh, what's crazy is that almost everybody that we've worked with has already been to the doctors, right? Mm-hmm. They've tried these things, and none of them want to be on medication, but there's like, okay, I'll take this pill, I'll try it, see if it does anything, and it just causes side effects. And yeah, it can relieve a symptom of fatigue, but it does not fix it. And that's what the problem is. So many of the doctors out there, our traditional medical system is really good at treating you for disease X or problem X, but they're really bad at identifying of why you have that problem in the first place. Mm-hmm. And there's a really good chance, now it's not true in all cases, of course, but it's a really good chance that it's fatigue related, right? Yeah. And when you start getting tired, everything else, there's this whole big chain reaction of stuff that happens into your body, right? And then the brain fog, you can't recover properly. You're not able, your gut gets thrown off. I mean, the whole gut and the second brain thing, that's a whole different topic we could dive into.
Yeah. Well, and not to mention a lot of times either, you're short-tempered, right? You don't have the patience because you're so exhausted. So you might say something to your spouse or your kids or your parents or, your friends that you don't mean. Or, two, you just don't really show up like yourself for them. And you're just you're just a husk of who you were.
Right. So consequences. So number one, your health. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're just going to continue to go downhill, right? Yeah. Number two, your relationships. Okay. When your energy goes, everything goes. You struggle with your health, your work, and your relationships. And what Ellie's pointing to right now is the positive impact you're not having with your family.
Yeah.
I cannot tell you the number of children I've watched going, is daddy okay? Is mommy okay? Is that going to happen to me? Is what happened to grandpa going to happen to daddy? Mm-hmm. Right? And we see that all the time. And then we flip and we're able to get their energy back. And all of a sudden the kids liven up. And all of a sudden the kids don't have anxiety anymore. And the kids don't have to be on SSRIs. They're not dealing with depression because all of a sudden the mom or dad, the parent, is now got their energy back. Mm-hmm. So guys, you got to understand the consequences, how this affects your family. Okay. Yeah. This affects your friends. Right. And, the way society works, is, you're going to get left in the dust. Yeah. Especially with your career. And I can tell you right now, business, your career has no emotions. It doesn't. It's going to move with or without you. Yeah. And if you don't have the energy to keep up the pace, it's game over.
Yeah. It leaves you. It just leaves you. It doesn't really,
It's not going to wait around for you. And if you don't do something about it and you keep losing your edge, you're going to lose your edge and you're never going to get it back. You're never going to be real sharp in that edge. And you're just going to be this dull blade trying to cut through a forest of fatigue, and it's just not going to work.
Yeah. And what's really interesting is, part of me is thinking when you said that, Adam, is like, I know if I was listening to this, I probably would have said, gosh, why are they so doom and gloom? Like, man, they're just like so on the negative, right? And you guys have to understand that if you're experiencing the symptoms that we're talking about, but that thought just popped into your head, that's actually a mechanism trying to keep you stuck. Right? That's actually you sugarcoating the issue. Yeah. And it's amazing how things change when you're actually just willing to admit where you are and that you don't like it. And you stop just pretending, or you stop just kind of like being, well, I don't want to look at the negative or whatever. Again, guys, there's actually a lot of power in just looking at what you don't like about your life, recognizing that it's a problem so that you can fix it.
Right. Yeah. So one, recognize the problem. Two, understand the consequences. And understanding consequences is a very difficult thing to do. It does not feel good. But until you do this and you understand what's going to happen if you do not fix this, then you can flip it around and you can turn the doom and gloom to what will happen if I do fix this?
Yeah. Yeah.
What will happen if I do fix this? Well, one, I'm going to eliminate all those consequences, right? Mm-hmm. I'm going to stop them. I'm going to get healthier. I'm going to feel better. And then what's really amazing, guys, is that people, when they're full throttle, when they've got their energy back and they're feeling good, the shit that they're able to do in their life is frigging amazing. Mm-hmm. It is incredible.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, just when I got my energy back, when Ellie got her energy back, after we had our big exhausted burnout experience, we lost our companies, right? When we got our energy back, and it took us years to figure this stuff out. But the clients that we work with, it's just amazing. Like Richard, who I interviewed a week or two ago, $198,000. He was in the hole about 80 grand with his business, had a really successful commercial carpentry business, did really well, got to the point where it's kind of running on its own, but he was so fatigued, he could not enjoy the fruits of his labor, right? He was basically imprisoned to the couch. Like he just couldn't do anything. He couldn't think straight. He was afraid to pick up the phone because he could never remember who he was calling when they answered. Like that's how tired he was. It was crazy. And then what he did is we got his energy back. Yeah. And then the first month he broke sales record. Month number 2, he broke the sales record again. Month number 3, he broke another sales record. And he got his business out of the hole and up $198,000. That is big time. That's what happens when you get your energy back.
It's so true. And what's so interesting is how long we will struggle with actually doing something about it, right? It's so curious why we actually delay so much in fixing something. I know for a lot of people, they sort of feel like, well, I don't have the energy to even fix myself, or, well, I don't know what it's going to, cost, or I don't have the time. And it's just so interesting how we come up with all of these excuses for why we can't fix something that's taking us down. And, I heard something the other day where someone said, for the average person, more than $1 million will go through your hands in a lifetime, right? Just coming in, coming out, coming in, coming out. And the amount of money that we actually get scared to spend on ourselves to fix our health issues, right? And to really take into consideration, I want to invest in myself so that I can feel better and do the things I need to do. It's like we're scared to do that, right? Or we just kind of stay stuck in our zone of not so comfort. And it's just fascinating how to watch that kind of tug, right, between people's wanting to fix this and change and thinking about it a lot versus when they actually make that leap and they're like, I'm doing this.
Okay, so right. So this is number 3. So this is a great intro, Eléa. Well spoken. Number 3, you've got to commit to change. You've got to commit to your energy. You've got to commit to energy, not fear. In fact, I'm going to retitle this right now because it should be commit to energy, not fatigue.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Let's see if this works. Boom. Oh, almost. Gotta fix it. There we go. Okay. So you've got to commit to change, guys. Number 3. So 1, you understand that you have a problem. 2, you've got to accept the truth of the consequences if you do not fix it.
Yeah.
And those consequences suck.
Yeah.
Life was not meant to be that way. You were born to be a badass. Okay. Every one of you watching every one of you in our Move Think Smile page, every one of you in our fatigue free professional group. And if you think otherwise, you need to get on the phone with us and we'll tell you otherwise because that's not true. And so you've got to commit to change. But so many people, Eléa, they will sugarcoat that the problems aren't that bad. And number 2, a lot of them know they have a problem. A lot of them know they'll be tired. They're like, well, it'll be okay because I'm not as bad as this. And they start comparing and they're like, well, I'm going to do this to do thing. And next thing you know, they're searching out eye wrinkle cream because they look 10 years older than they really are. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
And so once you understand the truth behind what's really going to happen if you don't do something about your energy, guys, you got to commit to changing it. You got to commit to getting it back. And this is where we see a lot of people just flail, right? Yeah. we will get on the phone with people. They're like, yeah, I really need to change because all this stuff's going to happen. Then when we're like, okay, guys, well, what do you want to do? They're like, well, I'm more committed to my fear.
Yeah.
I'm more committed to my fear of change.
Yeah.
And so you have to ask yourself that question. It's like, you're not a dumb, you guys are intelligent.
Yeah.
All of you watching this are intelligent people, right? You know how to use technology. You're intelligent. You know you've got a problem. You know what the consequences are. Why don't you commit to fixing it?
Yep.
Why?
Yeah.
Elliot, help us understand why.
Yeah. So, there's kind of that old adage of, the idea, it's like, let's start with this. How about this? It's like fatigue is so great at making you feel apathetic for so long that you don't believe anymore that you can change. And I think for a lot of people, that it's like we talk about, for you guys, what you can do when you have more energy and what your life could be like. And it just feels so distant, right?
Mm-hmm.
It feels untouchable. It's like, well, that's for other people, but it's probably not for me.
Well,
it probably won't work for me.
Well, because change is scary. Mm-hmm. It is. It's kind of like fear of the unknown. And what's happening is your comfort zone, your safe zone is actually really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And that's what number 2 is all about. Understand the consequences. And are you really comfortable being tired? Is that really how you want to live? Yes.
I think the other thing, I was going to say, I think the other thing too is people have lost their connection to their why. Why are they even doing this? Why are they in the job that they're in? What is it that they want their life to be about? What do they want to leave as a legacy, right? I feel like so many people in the position of fatigue just feel like they don't really matter, that they just don't really matter, which is part of the reason why they're not taking any action. Because it's like, what's the point? Why should I even do more? Why should I try? And again, I think that's not because they don't want to, but because they've been disconnected from who they are and what kind of impact that they're here to make, right? What kind of impact that they have to share. Because I know for me, when I was in that extremely exhausted state, stressed out, burnt out, I just wanted to hide. I wanted to isolate. I didn't think I had anything to offer anyone. I just forgot all the great things I had ever, done for people and the energy that I could bring. And it just sort of felt like, well, this is just how life's going to be now. And I'm so glad that I kind of had those moments where someone was shaking me and I was almost had to shake myself. What are you thinking? No, this is not acceptable. Don't settle for this.
It blows my mind, and I'm guilty of doing it too. Mm-hmm. Of knowing that this is not where I want to be.
Yep.
Of thinking it's just going to be better tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just one more day. You've got a lot of very amazing people who are committed, but they're committed to the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Guys, now it's time to literally, pun intended, wake up.
Yeah. And I mean, I think, Adam, we're talking, especially, today, right now, we're very passionate about this topic for you guys because we've been where you are and we know, kind of like Adam said, how asleep you are, even though, that exhaustion has made you kind of like a zombie, right? And we're here to wake you up and say, hey, there's more to life. Yeah. Right? We're trying to jar you guys a bit, right?
Yeah.
Because we know that you can have more.
Guys, I don't know if you caught the training that I've done. We're doing some more workshops, and I'll post a link in the group here in a little bit and on the page. But it's funny. It's so many people they invest in time, but time doesn't matter if you don't have energy along with it.
Yeah.
And the one thing that people don't really understand is putting your energy first is like printing money. in all areas of your life.
Yeah.
Because what it does is it forces you, or just a natural byproduct is you start feeling as good as you possibly can. And right now I want to ask you, what would it be like if you could feel as good as you possibly can? What do you think you could accomplish? How would you show up to work
Yeah.
differently? How much earlier would you be able to leave work? How would you show up to home differently? How would you show up to your friends differently? How would you show up to, I don't know, doing something you've never done differently? Guys,
Yeah,
we've
I
got
think,
we've got clients who were over
yeah.
300 pounds and have lost 65 pounds and are now jogging.
Yeah.
They're running.
I was going to say, I think a lot of people don't realize like it pays you back 100 billion times over when you get your energy back
Yeah. So
in
guys,
every area.
yeah. So guys, you've got to understand you have a problem. Number one. Number two, you've got to understand, get real with the consequences, as LA likes to say. What's going to happen if you don't fix this? And you've got to understand that. You've got to stop sugarcoating it. You've got to accept the truth. You've got to go to that uncomfortable place. And number three, you've got to commit to change, not your fears. You've got to commit to energy and not fatigue. And if you guys are having a problem with that and you would like to talk about us helping you do that, do just that, right? Looking at the problem, looking at the consequences, pinpointing exactly what's causing your fatigue and what's not working, I want to invite you to come over to movethinksmile.com/talk and book a call with us.
Yep.
And think about that. What would it be like if you got your energy back? How would you wake up on Monday? Right?
Yeah.
How would you wake up
spend this weekend? Right?
How would you wake up tomorrow?
Yeah.
How would you wake up next week? Do you seriously want to wake up a month from now still being tired, knowing that your health is just going to take a nosedive,
Yeah.
knowing that it's affecting your career and you're losing your edge? Guys, you can get that back, and we can help you figure out a way how to do it very, very fast. So please come on over to movethinksmile.com/talk if any of this resonates with you. And thank you so much for tuning in today. And if anybody's watching this on our YouTube channel or on our podcast, please come over to Facebook and join our group where we share this and a lot more stuff in the Fatigue Free Professional. That's the Fatigue Free Professional. Just go into Facebook and search and you'll be able to find it. And until then, guys, we'll have as much of a good weekend as you can. Don't be too tired, okay? And if you are, please give us a call.
Yes, absolutely. All right, guys, take care.